Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Welcome to the ChatGPT podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Each episode, we dive into the latest developments in the exciting field of artificial intelligence, exploring its applications and potential impacts on our daily lives. Today's episode is brought to you by Self-Pause, which is an AI life coach that I absolutely love. Self-Pause allows you to go and have a conversation around anything that you're trying to achieve. It helps you set goals. It helps you build positive habits, eliminate limiting beliefs. It's essentially just your personal coach for anything that you're trying to focus on in life. The best AI life coach. You need to check them out. Go download the app. This is something that seriously can change your mindset, and I am a massive believer in mindset. I know that if you change your mindset, you can accomplish anything you want to. So go download the Self-Pause app today, iOS and Android. This is something you absolutely need to get. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the cost of training ChatGPT, how much OpenAI is spending on their entire company, how much they historically have spent, and what is happening in the future. We're going to go over some of the costs, financial, time, and one you probably didn't think about, water. And we're also going to talk about what other companies are doing to help mitigate these costs, who some of the people spending the most money on, and why Microsoft and OpenAI are going to start making some new financial models and some new products in the very near future to help offset some of these costs. So without further ado, let's jump into the podcast. I think the biggest thing we want to talk about today is the fact that there's a big headline out of The Information that says OpenAI's losses doubled to $540 million as it developed ChatGPT. So it's pretty crazy. As they were building out ChatGPT, apparently they had to hire a bunch of key employees from Google, and these employees can be very, very expensive. Some of them are being paid up to $5 million a year. And when you're a company as big as OpenAI and your product is absolutely pivotal and essential and based on these AI experts, you're just going to pay whatever it costs, especially when you've already received, $1 billion from Microsoft and other investors, and you're just going to spend whatever it takes to be able to get your product to market. So apparently they were spending over $540 million last year to get ChatGPT ready, developed, and launched. And what's interesting is this is, a previously unreported number, but a bunch of people from within the company, I guess, leaked that. And it's really, a lot of this goes into just the steep costs of training these machine learning models. And before, ChatGPT launched, this was a huge cost, as a lot of this stuff had to be done from scratch, and it was a massive undertaking. So even after they've launched and the revenues kind of picked up, reaching an annual pace of hundreds of millions of dollars, which is what they've done just a few weeks after they launched their paid version of ChatGPT in February. The costs of running their entire company, I don't really think are going to slow down. I think they're going to keep rising as they're getting more customers and as they continue to train more and more advanced artificial intelligence models. And this technology is obviously rapidly developing, and they are the ones that are paying for it and having to stay really on top of it. So their CEO, Sam Altman, he privately suggested that OpenAI may try to raise as much as $100 billion in the coming years. That is absolutely insane. So far, their biggest checks that have been written to them, Elon wrote some pretty big multi-million-dollar checks at the very beginning. Some say of $100 million. Microsoft gave them $1 billion, and then most recently Microsoft gave them another $10 billion, which brings Microsoft up to about a 50% owner of the company. And so the fact that they're looking at raising 10x up to $100 billion in the coming years, I think really just speaks to the fact that they think it's going to cost a lot more to continue to develop these capabilities As you can see, they need to spend a lot of money on image. They have DALL-E 2, but it's getting, pretty soundly beaten by Midjourney at the moment. One can only assume that they're going to be getting more into audio and more into video in the future. And so as they kind of start looking at everything they want to do, this is going to get incredibly expensive. So very interesting. They might be looking to spend or looking to raise $100 billion. I think this is pretty important because right now we have a lot of other people creating these kind of AI models. We have Google working on Bard. We have Bloomberg. And recently, Bloomberg said that they used 1.3 million hours of GPU time to help build their Bloomberg GPT large language model. And so all of these are incredibly expensive at the moment. And everyone's kind of right now, there's almost like this big AI fight or arms race for GPUs, server power from NVIDIA and from other platforms, because everyone is trying to train these big, huge models because it's such a hot topic right now. And so as they're fighting over it, the costs are going up even more. I think in addition, another cost that we really have to factor into all of this on top of just the training and the talent that ChatGPT historically and OpenAI historically spent is the fact that people trying to train new models are going to have to start spending more on the data. ChatGPT kind of got under the radar because they were going to be an open source platform. They had the keys to the kingdom when it came to Twitter and APIs to a ton of different companies, Reddit included, that just allowed them to use the data for free. And now that everyone is starting to monetize these platforms, companies like Stack Overflow and Reddit have both said that if you would like to use their data, you have to now pay them. So ChatGPT may have gotten in at a time when they were getting this kind of content on the cheap, and it's left to be said if companies are going to retroactively make OpenAI pay for some of the data that they previously trained on. One other area that not a lot of people think about when they think about the costs of training these models is the water required. So a recent round of research just came out saying that training ChatGPT required enough water to fill a nuclear reactor's cooling tower. I think it's really important to know that in this new research, they said that GPT-3 alone, so that's before GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, consumed about 185,000 gallons or 700,000 liters of water. And so that's an average of every single conversation that someone is having with ChatGPT is equivalent of them dumping out a large bottle of fresh water onto the ground. So the people in the study obviously are emphasizing the environmental concerns with this, talking about the historic droughts that the US is facing right now, and the fact that companies like Google training Google Bard right now have all of their servers and cloud facilities in states like Texas that are, even more prone to drought, and it actually requires more water because there's more evaporation. I think in this study, they specifically focused not on water that was recycled, because these servers, right, they recycle water through them to help cool them down, but specifically water that was, evaporated or lost. And while I do think it is important to look at, especially when we're looking at droughts and, cycling or using water from local rivers and streams, I do think that this is probably less of an issue than, nuclear waste, as this article title alludes, as they're bringing in nuclear reactors, to try and make it seem really radioactive and scary. I mean, this is water. It evaporates. I don't know what else to say about it. I think we're all going to survive, although it is an interesting thing to keep an eye on as, more and more AI models come out and they all need more water to make sure that, we're using that and scaling that in a responsible manner. Now, all this to say, there are a ton of costs, right? We have the costs of the employees, the costs of training, the costs of now your data, and the cost of your water, I guess. And finally, the final thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that OpenAI and Microsoft are now implementing new ways to recoup some of these costs they're spending, new product lines. And one of the biggest ones that is happening right now is that Microsoft may begin to offer private ChatGPT to businesses. As you know, a number of different businesses have banned their employees from using ChatGPT. Most recently, Samsung had a bunch of employees who leaked confidential company information and source code to ChatGPT. And when I say leaked, I'm assuming they were developers who are saying, they're pasting code in and saying, hey, based off this code, what can I do, blah, blah, blah. Because I have developers for my companies that do that. And I know a lot of different people that are getting development advice and code advice from ChatGPT. And so this happened at Samsung. They banned all of their employees from using these AI models, and they said they're going to work on some internal tools, which I don't know how good they will be, but that's what their plan is. So because of that, companies, Microsoft specifically, and in Microsoft's, because they invested $10 billion into OpenAI, they got a special deal where they're allowed to resell OpenAI's products. And so you see that with Bing, and you see that with a lot of their other products are incorporating it, but specifically, they're literally allowed to resell ChatGPT to companies privately. So a company would be able to go and buy a special version of ChatGPT on exclusive servers that are completely cut off. None of the data that goes into it will ever be used for anything. It's all on the company's specific account, and it won't ever be incorporated into any future training data. Now, the fact that they're doing this also makes you think that what you're currently telling ChatGPT, if you're not on this plan, is being used for the training data, but that's another conversation. ChatGPT and OpenAI also have hinted that they will be launching a similar product to this in the near future. So I think between Microsoft and OpenAI, this is going to be a new way that they're trying to recoup some of their costs and making money back from this, as companies like Verizon, Chase, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs all took similar steps at banning their companies from really using these AI models for fear of leaking private or sensitive information. And so I think that once these companies that have banned it, these pretty big companies, are able to let their employees use it, there's going to be a massive boom in the consumption of these products. It's going to make a lot of money for OpenAI, and it's also going to add a lot of innovation and I believe a lot of automation for these companies that are allowing their employees to now start using it. This is going to be a really interesting area to watch. If you liked the podcast today, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. There's a link in the description. Make sure to download the Self-Pause AI Life Coach app. Absolutely amazing for helping you get whatever you're trying to get done, accomplished, focusing on your goals. And also make sure to join us on our Facebook group. We talk all the time about what is happening in AI. It's a really awesome conversation that a lot of people are having. A lot of amazing insights are shared. We'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. And as always, have a great rest of your day. If you are looking for an innovative and creative community of people using ChatGPT, you need to join our ChatGPT creators community. I'll drop a link in the description to this podcast. We'd love to see you there, where we share tips and tricks of what is working in ChatGPT. It's a lot easier than a podcast, as you can see screenshots, you can share and comment on things that are currently working. So if this sounds interesting to you, check out the link in the comment. We'd love to have you in the community. The innovation in AI right now is absolutely exploding. If you want to stay on top of all the insane disruptions and innovation that's happening right now, you need to subscribe to our newsletter on AIBox.ai. We send you daily everything that is happening, the news and the crazy advancements in AI technology, straight to your inbox for free every single day. So go to AIBox.ai, subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve on the world of AI. You've been listening to the ChatGPT podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and have a fantastic week.